Welcome back to the channel, folks, and in this video today we're going to be comparing the Dream Air SE to the Pimax Crystal Lite, both very affordable, very high-end headsets, but with a huge difference, and it's not just the form factor. And in this video I'm going to give you all of my personal thoughts and opinions, and hopefully it will give you a bit of an idea of which one to buy or not to buy. So just a quick shout out, this video is proudly sponsored by VRWave as always, which produce a fantastic array of different lens inserts for many different VR headsets, including Pimax, HTC, PSVR2, Meta, Valve, the whole works. And if you wear glasses or not, I do recommend you get a pair because it helps protect those very expensive lenses. And of course, if you do wear glasses, you can get your prescription dialed in perfectly. If you have an astigmatism or nearsighted or farsightedness, they have you covered. I'll have a 5% discount in the description below, go check it out. Okay then, so two very different ways of making a VR headset. The Pimax Crystal Lite is obviously very large compared to the SE. Kind of looks like a hammerhead shark when you've got it on, but it does have aspheric lenses. So let's talk about the lens comparison first. The Crystal Lite has no glare, no God rays, no nothing, and a very nice sweet spot, it must be said, compared to the very tiny custom pancake optics of the Dream Air, which has glare. In fact, in some cases, a lot of glare. So please bear that in mind. A lot of people on the internet are saying it doesn't have glare. It does, and at times it can be very jarring. However, interestingly, the sweet spot in my opinion and the warping profile is better in the Dream Air SE. It is almost edge to edge compared to the Crystal Lite, which does have some warping, and the sweet spot, while very good, well, it's not as good as the Dream Air SE. The resolutions, well, the core resolution, that is 2560 per eye for the SE and 2880 per eye for the Crystal Lite. And without any question, the Dream Air isn't as sharp as the Crystal Lite. It just isn't. And in fact, overall, the image quality, in my opinion, of the Pimax Crystal Lite is absolutely phenomenal. At 35 ppd, it's still very impressive, even in 2026. And obviously with the spheric lenses and a QLED display, it's also brighter as well. The SE though, having micro OLED means you get inky, beautiful blacks and far better colours overall, but I do feel the QLED does fight back, being that bit brighter, makes the colours pop really well as well. And overall, if I have to pick one, definitely the Pimax Crystal wins on overall image quality, and also the lenses not having any glare. Just for me personally, being a flight simmer, I would pick the Crystal Lite over the SE when it comes to image quality, definitely. Now, in terms of eye tracking, obviously the Crystal Lite does not have any eye tracking. The SE does, and it works incredibly well with Tobii eye tracking support. That's a no-brainer. It wins, and that's the end of that one, really. Simple as that. Let's talk about comfort, because this is a shocking conclusion, in my opinion. For me personally, I actually prefer the Pimax Crystal Lite. Yeah, I know, folks, you're going to hate me for saying this, but sorry, this is just my opinion. VR is a very personal thing, but the way the Crystal Lite sits on my head, like a cap or like a helmet even, it's just very well balanced. And the issue with the Dream Air SE is the facial interface and that horrible splitter box. I just find it very annoying. Now, if you mod it, like I have my Dream Air, with the Z-Fly gasket and Studio Form foam kit and the 3D printed, I'm laughing guys because there's so much you have to do with this, the 3D printed splitter box mod and the Apple Vision Pro strap, then it becomes insanely comfortable, like really comfortable, but out of the box it doesn't actually feel as good as the Crystal Lite. So there we go, a bit of a shocker there when you consider the Dream Air SE is a wonderful form factor, and it's definitely the future for VR. And I will reiterate what I've said many times, the Dream Air, the flagship Dream Air, is my absolute favourite VR headset now, and I use it all the time. It is sumptuously comfortable, if that's a word, but you do need those mods that I've mentioned in many other videos. When it comes to refresh rates, this is a biggie for me because unfortunately the Dream Air SE only goes up to 72 Hz native. You could upscale that though to 90 Hz, but in my opinion the image quality suffers too much. 72 Hz, even for a micro OLED panel, is just that little bit too low for me. It's funny how 3 Hz make all the difference to my eyes. I am very sensitive though to refresh rate. I find the big screen beyond at 75 Hz fine, but 72 Hertz, I can just see a little bit of strobing coming in, and I do find it gives me eye strain. Well, it's either that or the optics of the Dream Air SE overall do not please my eyes at all, and I do find I get eye strain with this headset. With the Pimax Crystal Lite, you can get a whole host of different refresh rates. I can't remember offhand, I think it might be 72 or 75. You can get 90, and I do believe you can get 120 Hertz as well. That's quite a big deal, especially for sim race fans as well, because I do think the higher refresh rates lend itself well to more fast-paced experiences. And field of view figures, well, this is another big downfall for the SE. It's hilariously small. In fact, it's the smallest field of view figures I've ever tested. With a stock facial interface, it's 80 degrees both sides. That's horizontal and vertical. The stock facial interface for the Crystal Lite is 102 degrees both sides. And that's quite small really for a massive VR headset. But like I say, it's large, but it's very light and comfortable in nature. It really is, guys. It looks ridiculous on the camera, but it is very, very comfortable. Now, if I mod the Dream Air SE, I can get up to around 92 degrees horizontal, but that's still very, very small, and I have to kind of adjust the IPD a little bit to get anywhere near that sort of 90-95 degrees, which in my opinion in 2026 is just too low. Now, in terms of the binocular overlap, well, I can't remember offhand exactly the Crystal Lite, but I will say both of them are well within limits. They feel absolutely fine. If anything, the binocular overlap of the Dream Air SE could do with being widened out a little bit to help with that field of view like the big screen beyond. But I find no issues with the Crystal Lite. As I say, with eye strain, for me personally, it feels absolutely fine. In terms of build quality, well, I think they're both okay, but I do feel that the Dream Air SE, in terms of initial experiences with people on my Discord, they're having issues with the stems and the cables, and the controllers are actually the same with both of the headsets. You get the same ring design controllers, which for this price point is actually okay. I don't have an issue with that. Actually, one more other thing that I forgot to talk about with the display, sorry about that, but I'll talk about it now, and that is the Crystal Lite does have chromatic aberration issues. It's not a huge deal, but it is there. With the Dream Air SE, you do get color fringing, which sometimes is confused with chromatic aberration. But I mean, it could be a type of chromatic aberration, actually, I don't really know, but in any case you do see a brown tinting on the edge of the display. You don't get that in the Crystal Lite. Audio wise, well, actually the piped audio through the strap of the Dream Air SE is pretty good. Hopefully we'll get a DMAS strap at some point. With the Crystal Lite, well, the S-Mass is absolute trash. I've no idea why some reviewers say it's good. It really isn't. It's terrible, but you can change it to the DMAS speakers, which are some of the best in the business, right up there really with the Valve Index and Reverb G2 speakers. The floating ear design is wonderful. Every VR headset should have it, and I highly recommend it. Definitely add that to your order. Talking of order, I do have some very nice discount codes for the Dream Air SE and Pimax Crystal Lite in the description below. Go check them out if you want to support the channel and also help yourself with a nice discount. Feel free. And tracking wise, actually the Dream Air SE wins. It's a newer tracking algorithm, and I do feel it's far better than that of the Pimax Crystal Lite, particularly when doing first person shooters or looking really far down, say at the console of your FMS or something. But generally speaking, for this channel's focus, that is flight simulation, I find the tracking fine for both of them, but the Crystal Lite can be a little bit more janky and more sensitive to low light conditions. Both have terrible mixed reality cameras, but it's usable in case you want to quickly check, see if you've got dogs around you or maybe your keyboard, but it's very fuzzy, very black and white, so in terms of MR, it's just a no-go for both of them. It's fair to say the Dream Air SE is a lot cooler to use, well, both in how it looks, but also in respect to the fan, which does blow some nice cold air around your face. Some people may find that might dry your eyes out. In comparison to the Pimax Crystal Lite, that can get a little bit hot actually over time. That's because they have stripped some of the stuff out of that headset, and it could have done with another fan in there. It's not terrible, but I must admit on a fairly warm day, you will feel a bit of heat coming out of those lenses. Now price wise, they are very similar as well. I'll just put up what they actually are at the time of this recording. Of course, VAT and shipping costs and custom import duty tax will vary depending on your region, but all intents and purposes, these are very well priced, aggressively priced, and both of them are going to be way better than the Steam frame when it comes to the actual image quality side of things, and for flight simulation I would also add. But really, I don't actually recommend the Dream Air SE at this point in time, because for me personally, I do feel the eye strain is a real issue, as well as some of the other problems with the build quality. I'm hoping that's going to change over time, but at the moment I just don't find this headset to be a very safe option out there for you guys. And you know, I would hate for you to spend your hard-earned money on the Dream Air SE only to find that you're plagued with lots of issues. And in terms of that field of view, in my personal opinion, it is far too low. And there's just something off with the optical stack or the lenses. Even though they're very similar or even the same to that of the Big Screen Beyond, I don't know what they've done, but it just doesn't feel very comfortable. I don't like the low 72 Hertz either. So really, this is a shocking conclusion, but for me personally, and this is all a personal thing, folks, you know, at the end of the day, I'm no VR expert. I'm just a geeky guy that likes flight simming in my man cave. But the Pimax Crystal Light is actually still a phenomenal headset. Yes, I know, I can almost hear you typing now in the comments. It looks ridiculously big, especially in 2026. It's such a shame. And Pimax, if you are watching this, and I'm sure you are, we would love a refresh version of the Pimax Crystal Light, perhaps with eye tracking in a much smaller form factor. That would be a killer headset, especially if you can do it for around the £800-900 or dollars mark. That image quality, when I go back to it, and I have recently, really does genuinely shock me. For some reason, there is very little Mura. Actually, that's something I didn't mention as well, sorry, but the Dream Air SE has zero Mura. There is some in the Pimax Crystal Light, but it's really not that bad, especially compared to that of its bigger brother, the 50 ppd Crystal Super, which has loads of Mura. It's a very clean display overall, and so sharp, so nice on the eyes, and it is actually quite comfortable, especially with their Studio Form kit. I just think for this channel's focus, that is flight simulation, not competitive Beat Saber, then it might be a bit different. You're sitting down, you know, and it actually is very comfortable for at least a couple of hours. The Crystal Light still gets my recommendation, even over the new Dream Air SE right now at the time of this recording. If things change, I will certainly let you know. And as you know from this channel, I will give you my brutally honest opinion on all these headsets, all the hardware. And really, that conclusion is a frustrating one to me, because I personally want the Dream Air SE with that form factor to be the new king of mid to high-end VR for a very good price, to actually kind of kick the Pimax Crystal Light's butt completely out the window and be the new massive sort of like mid-range Reverb G2 solution for you all. But it just isn't. There's too many issues with it, and the Pimax Crystal Light for flight simulation, I still think, is a phenomenal, really great display and does all the right things for its price point, apart from lack of eye tracking, and it's just far too big. Of course, it would be nice if there was a refresh version which is a lot slimmer in design. Now, performance wise, they both run really well. The Pimax Crystal Light will actually have a higher rendering target because aspheric lenses have a need for more aggressive barrel distortion correction. So the pancake lenses of the Dream Air SE will have a lower resolution overall. So that's something to bear in mind. But I will say I can run the Crystal Light even on a 3070 Ti, and a 4070 Ti would be absolutely perfect actually, especially with DLSS. But anything lower than a 3070 Ti, then I wouldn't recommend any of these headsets, especially for flight simulation, unless you're playing table tennis. And I think that will do. I've probably missed a ton of things, so please do let me know in the comments below if you have a very specific question. I'll do my best to answer it. I think that will do for now. It's very hot in the UK this week. I hope you're all keeping safe. Make sure if you've got dogs, any pets really, make sure they are safe indoors. If I see anybody walking their dog in this heat, I will absolutely go crazy at them. So please, I hope that's not you. And if you want to support the channel and enjoy this free content, then please do feel free to use my discounts in the notes below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. Take care and bye for now.